This episode features a former classmate of mine, a good friend of mine, Nasir Quadree, who actually started on Wall Street and then ended up at a venture capitalist firm and now currently is associate director of social investments at AT&T. In this episode, we just dive into how entrepreneurs seek out funding, and we look at the corporate side of entrepreneurship. How ironic is that? Corporate and entrepreneurship, but we talk about the challenges that some entrepreneurs face and what it takes to really reach that elite level and how to seek out those resources that we all are looking for as entrepreneurs. Hey guys, as always, if you like this episode, go ahead and leave us a review on iTunes. You can also listen to it on our website at dreamchaseracademy.net. Hope you guys enjoy. Hey guys, welcome to another show of Do What You Love, Love What You Do. Excited to be with you guys, second quarter of the year. Have a good friend of mine, Nasir Qadree, that's on the show with us today. Met this young man back in 2004 at Hampton University. He actually was playing basketball, so we had a common interest there, and we just had a lot of good times with each other in college, man, and just been keeping in touch with everything that this young man has been able to accomplish. Just doing a lot of big things, and he'll share his journey with us. But Nasir, just speak. We have viewers and listeners. Just introduce yourself real quick, and we'll just dive into some dialogue, man.
Of course. First of all, Jacob, it's great to see you, man. And thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so proud of you. You know, it's funny. We're actually celebrating 10 years, but to your point, we're actually celebrating 14 years of friendship since meeting our freshman year at Hampton University. So I'm really thrilled to come alongside you in this journey as well. So today I serve as the Associate Director of Social Investments at AT&T, leading our supporting, developing, and investing in high growth entrepreneurs who are essentially building innovative technology tools that are changing the learning revolution. So that's a space that I've been in over the past, I would say, 5 years now. Recently, I was led Village Capital, which is a small social impact firm based here in DC. Their economic opportunity work, making investments into health and financial inclusion, education entrepreneurs. And when I joined Village Capital, I was global head of education, a role that I actually thought I was incredibly underqualified for, but like many of my mentors, and of course my mother, my grandmother, and others, they said, "Harness your team, baby," and that's what I have done up until today. So really excited about where we're at in the state of entrepreneurship, the state of technology, and the role of these two intersections, these two verticals play when we think about economic mobility. So it's exciting, really, and I'm really thrilled that you and I are having this conversation.
Yeah, man, very excited. Just to have somebody on the corporate, it's like a oxymoron, corporate entrepreneur. So a lot of entrepreneurs say they don't want to be in the corporate world, but you're actually in the corporate sector helping entrepreneurs, and so we'll dive more into that. So, Nasir, give us some of your background, man. Like, how were you raised? What were your family principles? How did your mindset develop over the years? Start about middle school, high school age when you started getting serious about doing some of these incredible things that you're doing now.
Yeah, something you and I talk a lot about, and I know you stress a lot on this show, is the importance of mentorship. I mean, early on, and the first mentors for me, and probably for you as well, I'm sure, is our family. And, my mother, well, not just my mom, but my grandmother, my mother, and I would say my grandfather, they built this structure around me, I would say, disciplined, love, and education. And those areas for me was what kind of carried and informed my thinking around every decision I made, whether it be a college decision, a career decision, friends, your board of advisors, if you want to call it, in terms of mentors. Um, but the truth is, I grew up in a low to middle class family upbringing. I'm the oldest of two other siblings. My little brother, who actually served 5 years in prison, and I have a little sister. And so that that dynamic of how we grew up, all three of us choosing totally different paths, but sharing that love, sharing that the importance of education, and pushing um, this idea that if we want certain things in life, we have to be disciplined, and that's really hard. And so I've been blessed to have those. I would say that be my core ethos,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of meet other mentors like Vernon Jordan and Kenneth Chenault, and Jeff Livingston, and I've had a number of mentors throughout my career, both academically and into my profession, that have really shaped my thinking. And the most interesting about all these people is that most of them grew up in very similar upbringings as I did, and they all stress the importance of leadership and putting yourself outside of your comfort zone. But at the same time, if you're going to the farther and farther you climb, the more it's important that you make time to bring young folk up, particularly in my eyes, black and men of color. And so that's been my ethos, and I try to do my absolute best to kind of carry that throughout my career, and more importantly, my life.
Wow, man. So you already hit on those key words, man. Mentorship, leadership, discipline. All those things are character words that we definitely push through Dreamchaser Academy. And what I push when I coach young men, when I coach my young ladies, when I talk to young adults, when I do consulting, if you don't have those key things that you just mentioned, especially discipline, it's going to be very challenging for you to reach your goals and for you to be successful in anything,
Absolutely.
whether it's the entrepreneurship world or the corporate world. And so, the show is basically geared towards helping individuals reach different heights in every area of their life. But specifically, we've been focusing on entrepreneurship these last few shows. And so it was good bringing you on because you are basically on the corporate side of entrepreneurship, Nasir. And, some people, that's like an oxymoron. Like, how can you be corporate then entrepreneurship? That means you still got to answer to a boss. You don't make the decisions.
Yeah.
So, Nasir, why do you even get involved in helping entrepreneurs
Yeah.
on the corporate side? Like, why do corporations want to help entrepreneurs?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jacob, because the truth is, when you think about what truly revitalizes communities, it's not large corporations, it's small businesses. And those small businesses are led by entrepreneurs, individuals who in many cases are bootstrapping, taking their savings, because they believe, along with probably a number of others, beginning with family, in their idea. And in many cases, those ideas are actually solving problems, which I put a lot of emphasis on in terms of when I think about an entrepreneur I would like to work with. But in terms of um, what it looks like being in my shoes, looking at it from my lens, working for the largest telecommunications company in the world, is that if you think about here in the U.S., 78% of investments go to three places. It's Silicon Valley, New York City, and Boston. And you have the 47 other states fighting over the remaining 22%. So the truth is, where a major part of becoming an entrepreneur and running a successful company is making sure you have capital smart capital to get behind you. When we think about entrepreneurs of color, women entrepreneurs, that opportunity is a bit far-fetched compared to your average white, um, uh, probably lives in Silicon Valley, Stanford graduate entrepreneur today. 8% of investments go to women-led, 1% goes to people of color. An interesting dynamic around this data is that 84% of large corporations actually exists outside of those hotbeds, those tech hotbeds, outside of California, outside of New York, outside of Boston or Massachusetts. So AT&T being located in Dallas, Texas.
That's right, baby. Dallas Cowboys, baby.
I know that's your team. So it's interesting that we see a huge opportunity to not only find, develop, and invest entrepreneurs that are solving problems in education, with technology being at the center of their business, whether it be for-profit or non-profit. But another overarching interesting story is that with our brand, with our reputation, with this footprint, it also yields, hopefully revitalizing the startup community across the country, across the globe. And so it's one of those things where when a large corporation or a respected brand does something iconic or out of the norm, then you tend to hopefully have other funding vehicles and entrepreneur support organizations come alongside and begin to support these entrepreneurs. So that's really exciting. Actually got me excited. My mom thinks, she says, son, you live in DC, you work for a large company. What are you, a lobbyist? What are you, going on the Hill and advocating for, broadband access? And I'm like, no, Mom, I'm actually doing what I did before and what I love to do, which is support entrepreneurs. It's great.
So, what I'm most proud of what you just said is about you not forgetting about, what means to you the most, and supporting Black entrepreneurs, women and minorities. That's what I know your heart is big at, and I know that's one of your passions. And so, speaking about just keep on topic of entrepreneurship, me and you grew up, and you said education was key in your household. It was in mine too. And so I'm pretty sure both our families pushed college, like go to college so you could get a good job. You're a Black male, you're going to have a college degree. Like that's your ticket. College is your ticket, right? But now we're seeing the student debt go like way up. And now college might not be the best option for a lot of young men or people, period. Young people, period. And so my question is, I've been seeing like entrepreneurship pop up as different studies at different colleges. Is that such thing as an entrepreneurship as a major? Does that even make sense? Or is that a way of colleges saying, hey, let's try to take advantage of these millennials. They want to be entrepreneurs. Let's make a course for them so we can still benefit and, get that money. Does that make sense to go to college and study entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that's such a tough conversation, because on the one hand, you tend to try to understand the economics coming from the university's lens, in terms of keeping up, staying, I would say, credible and worthy enough for students to be part of their university. Reevaluating the value proposition to students and their family, because mom and dad are typically paying for college, or taking a loan. So, I do think it has a lot to do with colleges rethinking their value proposition and unbundling the degree. And so rethinking about the market, and the market in terms of what are most students today excited about. what are they most interested in from a career perspective? What we're seeing, Jacob, is that as higher education increases, also technology advances. And so when you have this advanced technology and platforms, free platforms that enable entrepreneurs to do this on their own, students beginning in elementary school, probably going back to pre-K, are becoming more technological advanced than you and I have, because it's right there. You know, the iPad and others are getting put in the hands of students at 3, 4, sometimes 2, 18 months, years old. You know, and so uh, that evolution of how a child, a student, an entrepreneur is born is different than over the past, I would say 10, 20 years. And so colleges, universities are having to adapt to that their value proposition. And so to your question, like, should there be a entrepreneurial major? My vote is that it shouldn't. Um, I think students should consider, more other majors, finance or general management or
Right.
marketing, but create a support system outside of those majors that enable those who want to be entrepreneurs outside of their majors to do so. So whether you create an incubator, you create an internal accelerator program around the entrepreneurs. I think if funding is right, I think schools should have a small fund, $20 million, $10 million fund dedicated to entrepreneurs and alumni entrepreneurs. Alumni of the university. So I think there's ways in which both the students who have ambitions on becoming an entrepreneur, but also getting a more formal education major, and the university recognizing that.
So why all of a sudden is this we're with the millennials, we're considered the older millennials, but why all of a sudden there's a new interest in becoming a business owner / entrepreneur? I mean, we see it. Me and you seeing it all the time growing up, especially with you down in Atlanta, people with shops and stuff downtown Atlanta on the streets selling whatever, apparel. You go back to Damon John, who's selling hats on the street in New York. People still do that stuff, right? But now it's becoming more popular. And like you said, it's starting in middle school, right? With kids, handing out flyers for whatever, parties or whatever. But now it's becoming more of a lifestyle and career. So before it was, a side hustle. Now and look, I don't want to work for nobody else. I want to make this this is what I want my life to look like. Where did the interest all of a sudden come from?
Yeah.
With this new millennials?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's funny. There's no right and wrong or answers to this question. I think most reactions to this conversation is subjective, but I would say there are some general themes that I'm sure most people think about, and one of those is freedom. This idea of of freedom, being able to have your own work schedule, get up when you want to, go to bed when you need to, and but more importantly, you have done hopefully some thorough R&D on a sector and or an area that you're focusing on, and you see a demand. Demand meaning that you see a large enough customer base. I actually call this customer discovery. A large enough customer base where your product is actually at need, and you can benefit off the market. And so, and then I think you do see a lot of technology platforms that enable entrepreneurs to do this on their own, and make a lot of progress versus probably 10 years ago, 10 years plus that, finding those free resources was very difficult. You probably had to pay for a lot of this stuff, and you still do. I mean, some of the best resources, there's either, there's a, uh, you know, there's a subscription fee or whatever, but
Right.
I do think it's this idea of freedom. B, it's this idea of understanding the demand, and then C, seeing the enormous amount of resources that exist for entrepreneurs today.
Yeah, man. You right into our next uh, topic, man. So you get hundreds of ideas come across your desk a day.
Yeah.
Maybe more. I'm just fortunate enough to have your phone number and shoot you a text, and I get a response on ideas that I may have. But um, what is the biggest challenge, man, that you see entrepreneurs face? When these ideas come across your desk, or you're just out there talking and networking.
Yeah.
What is the biggest challenges that me and other entrepreneurs are facing?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. The truth is, first of all, what I enjoy most is being here at the early stage. So in investing in general, there are a number of stages. There's the pre-seed or the early stage. There's a Series A, and or we call it growth stage, Series C, Series B, and it's such a great time to meet an entrepreneur at the early stage, because you're really, you're helping him or her shape their thinking around their go-to-market strategy, how to build their team, how to identify the very specific customer in terms of who has the budget, et cetera. And so, but the biggest challenges I see are, one, you first, even outside of the business, when you're an entrepreneur, you're working more hours than you would in a corporate job, right? You're working 60 hours a week. And so what we don't talk a lot about is social and emotional mental well-being. Being an entrepreneur, it's very important that you get your rest. It's very important that you exercise. It's very important that you go on vacations. If you it's very important you spend time with your family. And I've seen a number of entrepreneurs I've gotten a chance to know quite well, that those factors actually have either detrimented their relationship with their family, or detrimented the progress in their company. And you want to be focused on that. It's very important. I think the second thing, from a business perspective, is really understanding the market. I mean, every entrepreneur thinks that their product is the best, and there's usually no it's difficult to tell them otherwise, right?
Right.
It's all good, right? It's all good. I mean, that's the one of many definitions of being an entrepreneur. You believe in your product, right? But as an investor, I got to recognize that there's a lot of overlap. I've seen this before. There's really not a market opportunity. It's really not differentiated as you may think. But it's important, especially as a friend, because I do want to form that relationship with you, that you see that. And then lastly, I think especially in Black and brown entrepreneurs, we don't. There's a bit of a funding gap. We don't understand, or even not understand. Take that back. We're not aware of where where the funding lies. Especially if you live in Greensboro, if you live in Atlanta, if you live in Minnetonka, Minnesota. You don't know where. You don't know who. You don't have a relationship with. Shamath over at Social Capital, or Peter Fenty, or the guys over at
Guys with the money.
people with the money, right? And it's just unfortunately that is something that's unfortunately that we have not we have to broaden that ecosystem more. And hopefully, how I think about investing, a lot of my peers who believe that investors and capital should go more than 20 miles outside of Menlo Park, Manhattan, in Boston really is a future of investing, and we do it that way. I think we're getting behind more diverse entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So, Dreamchaser Academy, I focus a lot on personal development, personal growth, working on yourself, working on your mind, whether it's spiritual growth, physical, mental. You mentioned that, social health. What makes a good entrepreneur or a good group of people that are pitching an idea to you and your staff? What uh, intrinsic things are you looking for outside of just the business? I know you say you got to do your due diligence, so you're doing your background, you're looking up, the social media feeds, and
Yeah.
you're checking their character. So, what are you specifically looking for outside? They might have the best, idea, best business plan to you, but knowing you, I know character is big for you. So, what are you looking for when you look at those people individually and as a group?
Yeah, I think a few characteristics that come to mind for me is having this sense of confidence. I think you think about some of the greatest people on the face of the earth that have gone on and achieved successful things, built amazing products and businesses. They were in many cases they were cocky. They were confident. And what comes along with that are people who don't believe, who think you can't do it, or people have people backlash. I've always said, the people who don't believe in you are those who, when you're not in the room, they're going to share with those people who you are. They're going to tell them how they know you. And I've always felt I can get a sense early when I meet an entrepreneur, if they have that confidence, if they have that zeal about themselves, about how they view how confident they are in their team, but also their product. So I think that's the first, I would say, characteristic I look at. I think number two is that, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I think those entrepreneurs who want to scale fast, understand the importance of partnerships. And the third, I would say, is for me is just being very clear and approachable, but also a bit technical, a little bit, being able to be open to be coachable, be open to pivot if need be. When you're an early stage business, you don't often get it right. You make a lot of pivots, so it takes a bit of a demeanor to accept that this we're probably going in the wrong direction, and we may need to pivot. So being open to compromise with your investor or your partners is very important.
So let's give real life examples. So let's say, I'm an entrepreneur. I have an idea, but I don't have the skill set to be in front of people.
The first thing you have to do is you got to come out the shell, and you have to, or I would suggest, I'm saying you have to, but I would suggest and you're probably already doing this. Most entrepreneurs do this. Go to your own personal white drawing board, and you just map out, your idea, map out, the market, map out who is playing in a similar space, map out the opportunities. If you do this, what are some outcomes? What would life be like for you? What would life be like for the people in terms of job creation and, making people's lives better? And I think once you do that, and I think that's a challenge, right? The relationships, like how do we find the right investor to even just pick up the phone or answer my email around my idea? And that question is really hard to answer. And I think where I see this getting better at, so far to go, are most cities are beginning to have pitch fests or incubators, accelerator programs, these what I like to call venture development programs or entrepreneur support systems that bring a call to action to entrepreneurs who are home, who are, really, grabbing their, being frustrated because they have these bold ideas, but they don't know where to start.
Right.
I suggest you go to your local economic development in Greensboro, or every city has a number of different funding vehicles. Get a sense of who those are, and usually a lot of universities has connections with different funding vehicles in the city outside of the university. But it's such a difficult, obviously it's a big challenge for especially entrepreneurs who come from who are based outside of your traditional tech hotbeds.
Right. So if I'm an introvert, right, it's going to be very hard for me to even get out there and go to those meetups and talk to those people. But you mentioned earlier, you have to get uncomfortable. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the growth comes in at. And I definitely want to encourage all our listeners and our viewers to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's where you will experience a lot of growth. I've seen it in my own life with me even writing. Like, I never thought I would be writing, but now I find myself, finishing the last touches of my first book. I find myself writing a lot, whether it's blogging or specifically writing for a different blog or something like that. But I found myself doing something uncomfortable, and then it became a natural thing as I continue to do it over the years, and finding that practice to do that and surrounding myself with the right people who are doing those things. And so looking at different skill sets to learn as I become a better entrepreneur myself and a better leader and a mentor. Nasir, that's what I'm doing. Being a person that is really leading by example. So I don't want to be the type of coach that's saying, do this, do that. I don't want to be the consultant that is telling you to do something that I haven't done before. And so definitely on my end, and the way I coach people and lead people is sharing with them my experiences and continue to lead by example. And so, we have a lot of people that want to become entrepreneurs, Nasir, but they don't want to go through the process of, they use the excuse or the challenge of, I don't want to be that salesman, or that I don't want to do the sales process of my product. But I think that's a skill that every entrepreneurship person or everybody should learn, is how to be a salesman. Whether it's your idea or your product, you're going to have to learn how to do that. What's your take on that, or give us some advice on how to sell myself and sell my product in a very short period of time if I meet a future investor?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Some of the best entrepreneurs are those that are not necessarily the best at one particular area, right? And so, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, or in a CEO of your company, it's important that you at least have a 360 understanding of what's going on around your business. So you in the marketing department, or in the those business development or sales, or those that handle HR. Like, you don't, as a CEO, you do not have to have the deepest knowledge. Hopefully, you're hiring smarter than you in those different areas, but you should know enough to be dangerous. So as a CEO, you are able to thoroughly articulate as a general manager, how the progress is happening in your business. What's happening? How's your sales? What is your sales strategy? What's been your traction to date? Being able to effectively provide an overview within all your different areas within your business to an investor or to a potential partner. So, and I think that type of understanding around the progress of your business and how you are, I think, speaks volumes on how you're viewed as a leader who understands what's going on in his or her company, who can speak to the different departments in their business. And you know, that gives the partner or the investor confidence that, you know, progress is, you know, their investment or their partnership was worthwhile. So, so I think that actually that's tough to, as tough to get often, because you know, data says a bit over 65% of 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 CEOs and companies who are typically founders are usually probably not the best founders. So as they grow, nothing against you, but as they grow, and the board, you know, tends to see, you know, the company, you know, scale, and you know, you get higher, you try to figure out, you know, should we go out and hire an actual seat, you know, a CEO?
Thanks, man. You give me a lot of hope.
I'm gonna give you just
thanks.
The purpose of this is to share like how businesses usually are you know, kind of go through their changing their stages. But look, it is a work in progress for most businesses. Never trying to discourage you, brother, at all, but wanted to kind of share that hashtag real talk to.
Yeah, man. Look, I know you talked about you potentially being on my board, man. I might have to rethink that, man. I want you to try to replace me.
Not even, brother. Not even, man. I only mean positive, brother.
So just definitely want to wrap up the show. I know one thing about you, your character, man, is how important you love giving back, right? So I've been watching you over the past years run these marathons, man. So I know your jump shot is not as where it used to be, but sure. So you switch sports on us and you just start running. Running, I say you running away from me because you can't hold me on the court, but you're running these marathons, man, and you're running for a cause, though. And I'm really like super proud of you, man, of the money you're raising and why you're raising it. Share with us that, and how can we help you in your efforts in doing that.
First of all, I appreciate you, man. I still play basketball, guys. I play every Thursday and Sunday, but the truth is I do get worse and worse every time I play going forward. But I've been blessed, man, is to keep, you know, it's funny, my jump shot actually has gotten much better. That shows that my I can't move like I used to, but my moving is different. It's running. It's something I love a lot. And about 7 years ago, I dedicated my personal time to run 51 marathons, one in every single state, including DC, to raise $1 million for our country's first generation college population, literally students that are climbing a ladder that no one around them has ever climbed before. I'm supporting an amazing organization that I care deeply about, and I got to know very, very early in the early days, called America Needs You, which is a nonprofit that supports first generation college students, and pairs them with mentors like you and I, Jacob, around mentorship, around career development, and it is you know, people think the American dream is dead. The truth is, you meet a first generation college graduate that, and you put support systems around him or her, and they will prove to you that the American dream is not dead. That opportunity, economic opportunity, exists with the right support. The truth is also that you know, there's so many first generation college students across the country who are not getting the type of support that we're providing for our American Needs You fellows. So if you want to learn more about my running, you could I would suggest that you follow me on all social platforms at Nasir Qadree. That's NASIR QADREE. And there's a link about my running journey on pretty much all of those platforms. But But Jacob, again, thank you so much for being an early champion of this.
Hey, man, yeah, I'm excited to watch you run, man, and I want to take part of being one of those mentors, man. It's just a blessing, man, being able to watch some of the guys that I used to coach that finish in school. Shout out to Jeremy Harris, plays for Buffalo University, and they made the big dance, and watching him play and lead his team to the dance. I had another student,
North Carolina A&T, North Carolina Central.
My point guard goes to Central. Jordan Perkins out there, and Cameron Langley played for A&T. Watching those guys play on TV, man, just has been real exciting. I have actually, this is a personal story. A young man named Khalil out of North Carolina, and I was actually coaching his younger brother. Watching Khalil grow up, and actually he used to come to all the practices. And he actually was playing basketball. He had a football injury, devastating injury to his knee, right? So he was like, I'm not going to play football again. Well, his senior year, he was actually all conference in basketball. His senior year, decided to play football, ended up getting a scholarship, right? I went to his college visits with him. We ended up in UNC Pembroke. He played 4 years there. Again, the grueling injuries of Division One football is rough. But he graduated. He graduated, and he understood that he could no longer play football, and so he actually stayed with my parents, man, out in Dallas. And he had some job interviews. First time he didn't get hired, flew back out there. He was experiencing the companies flying him out different places, Cali, Vegas. I mean, doing it all. And I was so proud of him because of what he overcame, right? So just recently he texted me and told me he accepted a job offer in Dallas. And so he's very excited about that because Texas is one of the places he wanted to move to. Mm-hmm. And so he'll be staying with my parents for over the summer, getting his feet wet, and starting his career, man, starting another career. So seeing stories like that makes me so proud to be a coach, a mentor. And so, Nasir, I want you to leave us with just a strong message, man, of what people, that extra encouragement that they might need to step out there on faith and put that idea out there to the world that has been in their pocket, been in their journal, that can really provide a solution to some of the problems that we are facing today. So what kind of words of encouragement do you have?
Yeah, well, first of all, bless you so much. And Brother Khalil, I wish him all the best as he starts his career in Dallas, a place where I've been spending a lot of time recently. So there's no way of simplifying success. There's no way of starting a $1 billion company. It takes a lot of grit, takes a lot of failure. A lot of failure goes into this, and you get lonely. You get really lonely. So to my earlier point, very important that you take care of yourself. But the truth is, never let your wins go to your head, and never let your losses go to your heart. Something my grandmother always shared with me, and it stuck with me as I navigate my life and share my life with others, as sappy as it may sound. So that's what I will leave everyone with is never let your wins go to your head, and never let your losses go to your heart.
Hey, man, I appreciate everything, brother, man. Looking forward to coming up there, catching some baseball games with you in the spring. Once this weather breaks, man, it's been crazy. But, hey, thanks a lot, man. For everybody who's listening to this, the podcast is available on iTunes, YouTube. You can watch it as well. Also on our website, DreamchaserAcademy.net. We'll post some clips on both our Instagram accounts so you can see some of the highlights of our show. Again, all the links to to Nasir's Instagram and the organization that he's helping will be below. And feel free to reach out to him, set up a conference call with him. And I'm pretty sure that he'll be more than likely to help you guys out. And again, Nasir, man, I appreciate you, brother, man, and I'm looking forward to growing with you guys. And I see you at the top.
You too as well, Jacob. Love you much, man.